United by unimaginable loss, Palestinians and Israelis are turning pain into purpose. The grassroots movement of bereaved families is working to build peace where politics has failed. There are two people on a Zoom screen in front of me. One, a Palestinian man in the ancient city of Jericho in the West Bank.
The other, an Israeli woman in Tel Aviv.
They are separated literally and metaphorically by a wall, and they are united in loss, specifically the loss of a child. Something else unites them, a determination to build bridges of shared understanding at a time when the gulf between their people seems deeper than ever. They are both part of the Parents Circle Families Forum PCFF, membership of which has the grimmest of qualifications that your child has been killed in the conflict. Their backgrounds could not be more different, and yet, partly because of their loss, they've arrived in the same place. The fighting has to end, and bereaved parents are better placed than most to achieve that. The man on my screen, Bassem Aramin, grew up in a small village in the West Bank, already under Israeli occupation when he was born, and was 13 when he first got into trouble raising the Palestinian flag with school friends. At 16, he was on the fringes of a group of friends that found some old grenades in a cave. Two boys threw them at an Israeli patrol. The grenades were duds, but they were all rounded up and sent to prison where, as he says, he just learned to hate these people. But hate wasn't all. While there, he saw a documentary on the Holocaust. Previously, like many from his background, had been skeptical. We thought it was a big lie. How can anyone kill 6 million people? Yet watching the film, after a few minutes, I found myself crying. It was unbelievable, but I felt sympathy with these innocent people. It started him on a long journey, which eventually led to the University of Bradford for a master's in Holocaust studies, complete with visits to Nazi concentration camps. It was the culmination of an extraordinary path to reconciliation, which earlier after his release from prison had led him and fellow members of the resistance to make contact with Israeli ex-soldiers who'd become disillusioned with the occupation. The PCFF has developed online dialogue programs in partnership with US universities and to work with Jewish and Muslim students in Berlin, among other institutions. Image Levy Clancy together they formed Combatants for Peace in 2005. We took our slogan from Nelson Mandela: if you want to make peace, you need to work with your enemy until your enemy becomes your partner. We don't need to love each other, we don't even need to like each other, we just need to be partners for peace. The task was to become a lot tougher 2 years later, as Bassem explains. On the 16th January 2007, an Israeli border policeman shot and killed my 10-year-old daughter, Abia, in front of her school. She was hit in the back of the head. She fell down and died 2 days later in the hospital where she was born. And 2 days after that, I joined the Parents Circle. Founded in 1994, the PCFF now includes 800 parents. With the credibility that comes from their own suffering, they stage dialogue meetings at schools and colleges in which parents from each side by side tell their personal stories and explain why they reject revenge. They take participants to the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial and to the Palestinian village of Lifta, razed to the ground by Israeli forces in 1948 in the early days of the First War. You can see in their eyes the hatred for this Arab, this terrorist. After you finish your human story, suddenly there is no fear. There is empathy before you start to talk in those meetings, says Aramin. You can see in their eyes the fear, even hatred for this Arab, this terrorist. And after you finish your human story, suddenly there is no fear. Suddenly there is empathy. Some of them cry, some of them want to shake your hand. This is, as Robai always calls it, our emotional breakthrough.
Robai is Robai Damelin, now Director of International Relations for the PCFF.
Born and raised in a comfortable home in South Africa, she followed in a family tradition. Her uncle had helped defend Mandela in his FRSD treason trial by speaking out against apartheid. Later settled in Israel, she worked in PR. While Aramin was in prison, she was promoting TV channels, wine and music. Meanwhile, her son David was torn between his perceived duty to do military service and his unease about Israel's actions in the West Bank. After completing his service, he FRSD studied, then taught philosophy before being called up for reserve duty in 2002 in the West Bank. By now, explains Robai via Zoom, he's an officer. He doesn't want to go, but he'll treat anybody, any Palestinian, with respect, and so will his soldiers by his example. He said, if I don't go, someone else will, and do terrible things to the Palestinians. We took our slogan from Nelson Mandela: if you want to make peace, you need to work with your enemy until your enemy becomes your partner, said Bassem Aramin, whose 10-year-old daughter was killed by an Israeli border policeman. Image JP David and his unit were posted to a checkpoint. He called his mother. I have done everything to protect us, but this is a terrible place. I feel like a sitting duck. Later that day, a sniper opened fire. David was killed along with 9 of his comrades.
A year later, Robai joined the parents' circle.
Its impact, says Iran Ran, an Israeli ex-soldier who took part in a PCFF process, can be eye-opening, rattling, rough, depressing, and hopeful at the same time. Afisa Farasti PCFF session, he says,